have a look here at Newspoll, which is ranking the different premiers, their overall political popularity, and also the response when it comes to coronavirus. Now, I've got to whack this up as one big graphic rather than the millions of little ways that we can break this down. Let me, if you can't see the screen. The first of those blue lines is about satisfaction overall with the Premier, OK? But basically, Gladys Berejiklian is the same, 68%, to the poll that was done back in April. Daniel Andrews has gone down from 75% to 67%. Anastasia Palaszczuk has gone up from 55% to 59%. Stephen Marshall has gone up from 68 to 72. McGowan, level, 89 to 88, and Gutwein has gone from 84 to 90. So essentially, bar Daniel Andrews, and this poll was taken this weekend, so you can understand why, they're all kind of holding level. The second one is about their handling of the coronavirus. Now, we'll deal overall with Wells and Badley here. In New South Wales, from 77 to up to 79. Daniel Andrews from 85 down to 72. Palaszczuk from 72 up to 76. Stephen Marshall, 82 up to 87. McGowan, 94 down to 93. And Peter Gutwein from 89 to 93. Now, raw politics shows, despite the fact that the unemployment rate in Western Australia, South Australia, Northern Territory, all those lockdown states is above national average, that according to that, all of this is working for the state premiers.
Well, we know what we think about polls, don't we? And we've seen it time and time again that polls are so often completely wrong. But let's not forget that there's a factor at play here, that there is a lot of fear about the coronavirus generated by the media, generated by the politicians. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, scare campaigns of 1.5 million people dying or 500,000 in Australia and so on. So there's still the residue of that. So when you have people scared and they have strong leaders taking strong decisions, people support that. But the big danger here, and I'm certain Scott Morrison is aware of it, is that we reach a point in a year's time when people are looking back and going, hang on, for whatever reasons, they're looking back and going, well, hang on, that was mismanaged. And I think we are already seeing the fact that the Daniel Andrews, who had more lockdowns, more restrictions, simply because he allowed his left-wing bias to get in the way, they made serious mistakes.
Well, I mean, Andrews as the example of when something goes wrong, OK? So in this case, it's the return of some things, or let's imagine that it was, say, a spike in unemployment or whatever. When something starts to go wrong over a couple of weeks, what happened there was his bad figures more than doubled, right? Went from 11 to 25. So again, Richo, if you're a state premier, you sit back and say, oh, well, keep jogging on. Presumably Palaszczuk reads that as, oh, well, keep it going till August. And I think, you know, McGowan says keep it going till September because then I don't have to own 8.1% unemployment.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Look, I look at these figures probably in the same way that the premiers do. The polls come and go, the premiers tend to stay. We don't change state governments that often. Not many of them do one term. I mean, you know, 2- and 3-term governments are the norm, not the exception these days, don't you reckon?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was just thinking the only one whose first term is Tasmania. Oh, no, they got re-elected, sorry. It'd be Western Australia. That's the only...
McGowan.
And Marshall. Yeah, so South Australia, Western Australia are the only first-termers. Otherwise, you're looking at what? Going for a third term in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland at the moment. Yeah, but interesting to say. And what about Peter?
Both of those first-termers look
and they'll
like
bolt it.
They'll get a second term.
Yeah, no, they'll bolt it in. But as I always say on this show, and I have been saying for weeks, just because you're super popular does not mean that you are right. You are not a king, you are but a premier, and I will continue to displease you, premiers, because I will continue to speak on the behalf of those whom you displease with your own decisions.